Hello everyone, welcome to Election Future. Trump is skyrocketing in the 2024 betting markets. This is his final push, with just 30 days left until the election. According to Polymarket's 2024 election forecast, Trump holds a 2.4% lead over the vice president. For context, there was never a single point in time in either 2016 or 2020 when the betting markets favored Trump. He is performing better today than he ever has in the past. Today, we're going to take a look at the 2024 electoral map based on Polymarket's election forecast, which is a compilation of the state-by-state odds. We'll begin by filling in the solid states, states where Harris or Trump have a 95% or greater chance of winning. Starting with the safe blue states for Harris, we have Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Illinois, New York, Vermont, the 1st District of Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. For Trump, he is easily going to win Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except its 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and South Carolina. This gives Harris 191 electoral votes and Trump 122. However, when all the likely states are filled in, Trump will easily retake the lead. Now, we're going to fill in the states where either Harris or Trump have between a 75% and 95% chance of winning. These are the likely states, and while they are more competitive than the safe states, one candidate still has a slight edge. We'll start with the likely blue states for Harris, beginning with New Mexico, where she has a 91.5% chance of winning. New Mexico hasn't voted Republican since 2004, and it's extremely unlikely that Harris will lose it. However, New Mexico is trending rightward, and in a decade or so, we might see competitive elections there. But for now, Harris remains the clear winner, even though the state got more competitive before Biden was set to drop out. New Mexico is therefore marked as likely blue on our map. Next, in Minnesota, Harris should be performing better than she is. This is Tim Walz's home state, and the only reason she's doing so well here is because she chose the state's governor to be her running mate. Despite this, her odds are only 91.5% when they really should be at 96% or even 97%. Minnesota became more competitive right before Joe Biden dropped out in mid-July, but after Harris took over, she became the favorite. It's unlikely she'll lose Minnesota primarily because of Tim Walz, but her margin of victory will be lower than Biden's 7-point win in 2020. In New Hampshire and Maine, Harris's performance has been poor. She has just an 88.5% chance of winning the Granite State and an 89.5% chance of winning Maine. These are two states Biden carried in 2020. In 2020, Biden won New Hampshire and Maine by nearly double-digit margins. While you might look at these numbers and think that 88.5% is quite high, remember these are betting markets, which means Trump has a 12% chance of winning New Hampshire outright, an amount that is not insignificant. I'm not saying Harris is going to lose New Hampshire or Maine. She's definitely the favorite in both races and will likely win. However, if she's struggling in states like New Hampshire and Maine, she'll struggle much more in the swing states. And if she can't win the swing states, she has no chance of winning the election. For now, New Hampshire and Maine will be marked as likely blue states, which is not where Harris needs to be. Meanwhile, in Nebraska's 2nd District, Harris has a 90% chance of winning, making it a likely blue district. In Virginia, her odds sit at 87.5%. Harris won Virginia by double digits in the last election, so she should be performing better here. However, Virginia has become extremely competitive. The most recent poll shows her leading by just 3%. Virginia will not be decided by a margin of 5 points or more, and Trump definitely has a chance here, which is reflected in the betting markets. So, Virginia will be the final likely blue state on our map. Moving on to the likely Trump states, we'll start in the Midwest with Iowa and Ohio. Trump has a 91.5% chance of winning Iowa and a 92.5% chance of winning Ohio. These are two states where the former president dominated in the last two elections. He first flipped Iowa and Ohio in 2016, winning them by nearly double digits, and then won them against Biden by a similar margin in 2020. As of today, there's no doubt he's on track to win both of these lower Midwestern states by a likely margin for a third time in a row. Before we continue, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed, so please take the time to subscribe now for more content like this leading up to the election in November. Also, join my Discord server to chat with me personally, link in the description below. Meanwhile, Alaska is also going to be likely red, with Trump having a 90% chance of winning the state for a third time. In Texas, Trump is the heavy favorite, with an 80.5% chance of carrying the Lone Star State. He won it by 6 points in 2020 and by 9 points in 2016. There's no doubt he'll win it for a third time in 2024. While Texas is generally shifting to the left, Democrats are not going to come close to winning statewide races there anytime soon. It's likely going to take 2 or more decades, and by the time that happens, the Midwest will have shifted enough to the right that it will be reliably GOP. As of now, Texas remains a likely red state. In Maine's 2nd District, Trump has an 88% chance of winning, so it will also be likely red. Finally, in Florida, Trump has an 85.5% chance of winning. Florida simply isn't competitive anymore, even though the state was decided by slim margins in 2012 and 2016, and by just over a small margin in 2020. Today, Trump is on track to win the Sunshine State by 7 to 10 points. His margin in Florida is likely going to be as large as it is in Texas, which hasn't gone blue since 1976. This really highlights how red Florida has become. Ron DeSantis won re-election in 2022 by nearly 20 points. And while the presidential race will be closer, there's no doubt that Trump is the heavy favorite in Florida. With these solid and likely states filled in, Harris leads with 226 electoral votes to Trump's 219. Surprisingly, there are no additional states where Harris is favored. Now we'll move on to the lean states for Trump, as Harris has no lean states. These are states where Trump has between a 55% to 75% chance of winning. We'll begin with Arizona, which has actually become the most conservative of the 7 swing states remaining on the map. Trump currently has a nearly 64% chance of winning Arizona, a state he didn't win in the last election. Biden carried Arizona by 0.3% 4 years ago, but today Trump is the clear favorite to win the state. In fact, ever since the DNC, Harris's odds have only been falling, while Trump's odds have surged to their highest levels since Biden dropped out of the election entirely in mid-July. Flipping Arizona would be a strong sign for the Trump campaign, as this is a state that is shifting left. But if Trump can reverse that trend and win Arizona, there's no doubt he'll be on the path to victory. Arizona is currently lean red, with Trump as the clear favorite. We see a similar situation in Georgia, another state that went to Biden by a very narrow margin in 2020. In fact, it was the closest state in the entire election. In 2016, Trump won Georgia by just over 5 points, and today he's likely to win the state by around 2 to 3 points. Trump currently has a 63% chance of carrying Georgia, and just like in Arizona, his odds have only been rising since the DNC in mid-August. Recent polls show Trump leading in nearly all of the last 10 surveys conducted, making it clear that Georgia is on track to flip red. Trump is reversing the leftward shift in Georgia, and if he wins both Arizona and Georgia by lean margins, he'll be well on his way to winning the election. Flipping Arizona and Georgia early would be a very positive sign for the Trump campaign. In neighboring North Carolina, the Tar Heel state is the only one of the 7 swing states that voted for Trump in both 2016 and 2020. He won it by 4 points against Clinton and by just over 1% against Biden. Today, Trump has a 58% chance of winning the state for a third time. While the race is generally tightening, Trump is still the favorite, and it's unlikely that Harris will take the lead here. The only reason Trump isn't doing as well in North Carolina as he is in Arizona and Georgia is because of Mark Robinson, the GOP gubernatorial candidate, who has been a disaster. If Trump comes close to losing North Carolina, it will be because of Robinson. However, Trump still has enough support to likely overcome Robinson's influence, making North Carolina lean red on our map. This puts Trump just 8 electoral votes away from the presidency, and the state that could push him over 270 electoral votes is Pennsylvania. Trump currently has around a 55% chance of winning Pennsylvania. These odds fluctuate in response to real-time events, but over the last few days, Trump has consistently hovered around 55%, sometimes reaching as high as 56%. Trump's odds in Pennsylvania have risen significantly in recent days, going from trailing to becoming the favorite. Pennsylvania, or the Keystone State, is therefore lean red on our map. With these states, where Trump has an outright advantage, all of the solid, likely, and lean states filled in, Trump crosses the 270 electoral vote threshold. In fact, he stands at 281, well over what he needs. Now, we are left with just 3 states, which will all be tilt states, where neither candidate has more than a 55% chance of winning. These are essentially toss-ups, with very close odds. We'll start with Nevada, which has been a statistical tie over the last few weeks. It's not a particularly critical state, as it only holds 6 electoral votes, and neither candidate realistically needs Nevada to win the election. Currently, Harris is at 52.5% and Trump at 47.5%, making it almost a tie. Trump and Harris have been trading leads in recent days, so Nevada is going to be marked as tilt red on the map. Personally, I believe Trump will win Nevada, even though the betting markets show it as a toss-up. I'll use my own judgment here, and based on that, I believe Trump will take Nevada's 6 electoral votes, something no Republican has done since 2004. Finally, we have Wisconsin and Michigan in the Midwest. These are 2 more tilt states where the Harris campaign has been in free fall. In Wisconsin, her odds have dropped from 60% just 20 days ago to now just 54%. This race is only going to get more competitive, and Trump is likely to win Wisconsin based on the odds. It's essentially a tie, but I personally see Trump as the slight favorite. Wisconsin will also be marked as tilt red. In Michigan, we've seen the biggest shift. Less than 20 days ago, on September 25th, Harris had a 68% chance of winning Michigan, more than 2 out of 3. Today, it's essentially a tie, with Harris's odds having fallen to just under 55%. Michigan is essentially a toss-up based on the odds, but I personally believe Trump is the slight favorite. This is a disaster for the Harris campaign. If she can't win Michigan, she can't win any swing state. Michigan is the most liberal of the 7 battleground states, so if Harris is struggling here, she has almost no chance in states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, or Arizona, all of which she needs to win to reach 270 electoral votes. As of now, Michigan is a toss-up, but I expect Trump to take the lead in the coming days. Based on my judgment, Michigan is tilt red and on track to vote for Trump. Based on Polymarket's 2024 election forecast, Donald Trump is on track to win the election outright, even without any of the tilt states. However, with these tilt states factored in, he is projected to win 312 electoral votes to Harris's 226. In November will apparently be very exciting. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next video.